Chapter 13. Beyond the Shadows. The whole of heaven, the heart decree, the dreams of man, a grain of sand, the petals of a single flower, held fast within one hand. There's a bright flash and a light that resembles the dimming of a candle. There's a cave of sorts, and the vista of a countryside beyond the craggy opening. I'm looking through the eyes of a little girl, a soul of deep feeling and a future on fire with passions and expressions that the world has not yet seen. I am walking playfully through a field of wild flowers, the kind of flowers the birds like and other wildlife, and the days are full, and so is my heart, and the sun is high, and the field is large, and it's longer down the one straight. There is someone with me, Ian. He is slightly younger, and he squints at the sun as we move carefree through the grasses, and he dares the skybound fiery orb to burn the eyes out of his sockets, and he laughs. A time of laughter, this is, of laughter and dreams, and a field of dreams. Yes, that's what this place is. A field of dreams. There is one kind of wildflower all around us that is most abundant, and it fills the field with an air of gentle domination, and there is a horse in the next field, and he loves the thin but tough and stalky, delicate white-flowered plant. We gather it all up in our arms as we walk and tug at the roots, being sure not to cut our hands as we pull at the earth with a splintering crunch and a rustle of foliage. The horse is a playful soul, and quite magnificent, and quite humongous. A giant of muscle with shimmering coat like brown steel, and warm to the touch. I am aware from within the experience that had I an older and more cautious mind, I would surely see the clear and present danger and retreat from such power and such mischief and such grace. Beautiful grace like the grace of God. We named him, Ian and I, a good while back. His name was obvious and came to us from the ether as though commanding our minds to listen. King. And what a fitting name, and what a king. King of all the beasts. It had to be a long while ago that we named him, for now he recognizes us from a distance and makes his way to the field's perimeter and comes galloping, the ground thundering beneath our feet with the rhythmic striking of hooves, the awesome power of King resonating through the rich soil and being received by our young bones, our feet first, and then our legs, and then the rest of our bodies vibrating and tingling with the raw energy of our gentle giant, our friend Colossus. And he munches on the stalky plant as we hand it to him, myself and my very good friend alike, and we are entranced within the magical union between man and beast. And as he munches with sideways grind, he is full of gratitude and delight, and we have named the plant too, King Weed, a royal feast for sure, and a banquet fit for a king. Are you familiar with the concept of Plato's cave? Like so many ideas rising from unconscious depths, I cannot say where these thought-form signatures originate, but regardless of this, I have a clear and bright illumination within my mind that I would like to document. People back on Alpha, the base from which I leapt, who are, for the most part, only aware of the electromagnetic universe, that is, those things that can be physically interacted with, seen, touched, heard, smelt, tasted, are merely existing within shadows of real things. Plato, from the archaic world, famous for thinking in elegant ways, likens people who are cut away from a higher reasoning or sense of awareness to be like prisoners who are chained to the inside of a cave. They have been positioned and bound in such a way that they cannot turn their heads, and they are all looking in one direction. All they can see is one wall of the cave directly in front of them. Behind them burns a fire. Between the fire and the prisoners there is a parapet, along which puppeteers can walk. The chained people can see the shadows being cast by the puppets dancing in front of the one light source, but they cannot see the entire setup that they are locked within, and so they simply accept the nature of the reality that they're presented with. They accept the nature of the reality that is decided upon by the puppeteers, the nature of the reality that is nothing more than an illusion, nothing more than shadows of reality. This whole idea mirrors the recent experience of my living memory of spending time with Ulysses. In particular, his explanations regarding the deeper nature of reality. The two concepts, ideas, certainly go together. Ulysses. Ulysses. Ulysses is agitated and rushing around out of sight behind me. I can hear my voice becoming raised in concern, and I can detect nervous undertones in my vocalization. What's wrong? What's happening? It's not you, my good lad. It's me. Never you. You would never do anything wrong. You would never turn your back on your programming or the Quantumverse, and that which will forever sustain you. And that's what I'm counting on. I have to believe that goodness comes from good intentions, and my intentions have always been good. Have they not? I've always wanted the best for you. I have. I have to believe that those things pertaining to goodness underpin a greater part of reality, a reality that constitutes the 99.9% of a more all-rounded view of, well, everything. The greater part of reality has to be good, and built on a foundation of good, doesn't it? Of course it does. Is. Of course it is. Whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. I've never seen my friend like this. It's beginning to unnerve me. I hear myself repeating my last question with a growing concern, and in a more elevated way. What's wrong? What's happened? Flying too close to the limits and too many times. Icarus, sun, my father's warning, and all that. I've been given the push. Can you believe it? Can you actually believe it? I can't. I can't believe it. Crashed and burnt, or burnt and crashed. Moving his head in a rapid, exaggerated, tilting fashion from one shoulder to the other in a kind of mocking and sarcastic way, Ulysses continues. I've been taken off my post and demoted big time for unlicensed conversations with Beacon Property. Conversations from over 2 months ago. What the flying? I'd understand if the violations were more recent. I would. But this? I am ashamed as I hear my next words, but I am powerless to the energy of the situation. What about me? What's going to happen to me? Worry not, Nine. You're hot property. Hot property, all right. No harm will come to you. You're too important to the state. You're like a very important toy that needs to be looked after, 'cause you ain't getting another one. And now all the kinks have been ironed out too. Can't believe it. All thanks to yours truly. So yeah, hot property all right. And regards to my unique input and assured reward, thanks for nothing. Thanks and goodbye. Thanks and good night. Ulysses begins fiddling with the hovering dials, and I begin to feel much more agreeable, much safer. Feeling much more composed, I ask the question that I wish I'd started with. What about you? Oh, don't worry about me, and don't worry about the nerve thing, the anxiety you experience in certain situations. All that will go away, dissolve into the ether, after the big wipe. You'll feel strong, invincible, and you'll feel completely content and happy. As for me, well, I'll be taken down a peg or two, which basically means I'll be taken down a level or two, which basically means my work will be far less interesting. That's about it, really, I would imagine. Well, we'll see, but don't worry. I'm kind of like a toy maker that's come up with something a little bit special, something that is more than just a puppet. I'm kind of important too, you know? They'll have a use for me. Don't stress it. They always find a use. Even a jilted Geppetto, downtrodden and impoverished, will still have a use. And with that, Ulysses, my friend, is gone. Through an act of compassion, he must have turned up my comfort levels because, all of a sudden, I feel completely indifferent to the whole situation. Confused, yes, but indifferent. My eyes settle on an emblem that shows up all over the lab, a logo or motif. I've seen it many times, but I haven't really acknowledged it until just now. I don't know why. It simply never took my focus. It is the image of a butterfly with its wings outstretched. The logo that's linked to the manufacturer of the electronic systems around me. Yes, a butterfly, and possibly a loose and random cryptic message from the universe that connects me to my destiny and that of the energetic fields of positive growth and the fires of real transformation. The vision fades, the sights, the sounds, the scents, the feelings of the tranquil lab, the smell of raw electricity in the air that I associate with home, and I'm left gazing at an identical logo directly above my forward vision. The star fields beyond, morphing into streaks under constant and immense velocity. Again, never acknowledged it before. The rather stylized and abstract shape simply had no meaning, and so was invisible to my intellect, but now it has become clear and quite obvious. The subtle etching of a butterfly on a metallic canvas. The light of the moving stars dancing like white fire through the markings and the curved lines. I know through a kind of intuitive fuzzy logic that this symbol is in no way linked to any kind of sentiment regarding my gentle friends. My mind comes full circle and asks a repeating question and wonders at my primary program, the induced reason for travelling such huge distances from Earth base and the Milky Way to the Venus system and Andromeda. My mission to save the earthly butterfly population for the sake of beauty and prosperity. I have to question my jailer's motives now with a more informed view, my jailer's actual motives, and the symbolism that my would-be master seemed to adopt and love. The butterfly, for example, is symbolic of transmutation, of shifting into a higher state, but had I continued onwards with my original orders and reached the flag point specified, whose transmutation would I have been sympathizing with, and which reality had the puppeteers decided upon?